Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast with Mini Jabba, because this week we watched Vengeance on Varos.
Written by Philip Martin.
Directed by Ron Jones.
And aired in January of 1985.
Yep. So
this is going to be an interesting episode.
It'll just be like last week, except in reverse. Because last week I didn't like Revenge of the Cybermen and you liked it. And then this week, it's the other way around. So, if we've proven anything, it's that season 22 is going to be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, alright.
Well,
so it opens up with like 15 minutes of the Doctor and Perry not showing up. And so was the governor dude's name Arak?
No, the governor was just the governor.
Oh, who was Arak?
No idea.
Okay, well, I don't know. One of them was named Arak, and I was like, haven't we had a character named Arak like kind of recently? I don't really remember, but it seems to ring a bell.
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
It'd be kind of lame if they just reused it.
I think Arak was the guy in that room just watching the executions who just wanted to kill a governor.
Yeah, I think it was him. It was either him or... Yeah, I think it was him. I don't know.
So...
But yeah, after they have this engaging discussion...
Yeah, they start and the lady is like watching this dude get tortured, and at first I thought she was controlling the torture because that's how they made it out to be. But then it turns out no, she's just a random citizen watching the torture on live television.
Yeah, so kind of like what we usually do in our free time. No. So yeah, it zooms out. You see the guy getting tortured, and it zooms out, and it's on this TV screen. And next to the screen are these big yes and no buttons. And I was like, I wonder what those do. And you learn in like 5 minutes. It's kind of a dumb system, to be honest.
No, it's not as great.
I mean, it's
actually not.
It's an interesting system, but like, imagine if that was implemented in real life. Imagine all the... I mean, they show what could go wrong with it later in this serial. Imagine some crazy criminal breaking into people's houses, pressing no.
Well, the better part is when the votes come in and there's only like 1.5 million people on the entire planet, so...
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's a smaller planet than Earth. Or maybe it's like way bigger, I don't know.
It's a prison colony.
Yeah, imagine this election with that system.
Well, I think the main two candidates would be dead, but...
Yeah, maybe we could finally have a third-party president.
Actually, I think by the time this episode goes out, the winner will have already been chosen. Just the voting is on November 8th, so...
Yeah, well, as long as that's 3 weeks from now, because if you
think
didn't know,
is.
we record 3 weeks ahead. Well, now we do.
We do now. Originally, we used to like record the day before episode
like 20 hours ahead.
And that was usually always... yeah.
I mean, there was nothing wrong with it.
Well, except that time that episode got deleted, and
I mean, the two times the episode got deleted.
Yes.
And then when it almost happened a couple weeks ago.
Or when we thought it happened for The Matrix too.
Yeah, if you didn't know, we also do Triple Play, another podcast where we discuss movie trilogies, and we watched The Matrix like last year, so go check that out. Anyway, back to this serial.
Yeah, well, so Arak and this lady are watching.
Presumably his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really ever go into what their relationship is.
No, they're just
but it's
there
not
to
that
watch
important.
the executions.
Yeah,
and provide color commentary.
They're just there to be terrible actors reading the terrible lines that this script provided them.
The script didn't have terrible lines.
I'm not going to bring up any specific instances, but the script was so bad here. Especially when what's-his-face, the guard dude, was explaining the entire situation. And, I mean, he was a terrible actor, too, so that had something to do with it.
No, they weren't. They weren't even on the level of what we've had before.
They're still pretty bad. They're pretty bad.
Not even. They're, like, mediocre. At least Perry's American accent's getting better.
It is. It's getting better.
So... Anyway, so they're watching, and then the feed ends, and then And the guy has all this anti-political speech. He's talking about wanting to kill the governor. And I'm like, whoa. And she's like, hey, this is the best governor we've had. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then
he's like, this is the worst one we've had. And she's like, since the last one, right?
And he's
so
like, oh.
Overall, this serial just felt like super anti-government, to be honest.
I'm okay with that.
Well, at the beginning. At the end, it kind of takes a different turn, but...
I think it's more anti-TV, to be honest.
I think it's more anti-propaganda, to be honest. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, the executions weren't so much propaganda as entertainment to keep the people happy.
Yeah, bread and circus. Except without the bread. So it's just circus.
Yeah, they're all rationing. You find out they're all rationing. They're getting, like, minute food portions. The guy's not happy about this. That's why he wants to kill the governor.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's not as radical as it sounds once you find out what their system is. But then it cuts to this little slimy Jabba-looking creature.
It's really weird and creepy and uncomfortable to watch creature. Because he keeps doing that weird thing with his mouth. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, he had to stay moisturized. He really did. That's why they kept having to spray him. But yeah, he reveals that he's from the company that funds something or the other.
Yeah, they buy the... So Varos is the only source in the galaxy of this rare ore.
Yeah, which they conveniently need to fix the TARDIS.
Yeah. And yeah, Syl, which is his name, comes from this company, the only company that buys the ore from Varos. So they're there because he's trying to extort a lower price of the ore, and the governor's trying to get them to pay more for the ore. So they're having this whole argument.
Yeah, except they take 15 minutes to explain all that and do it in the most obtuse way possible.
False.
No, the dialogue here was pretty
Nope.
Pretty vague.
And that's okay.
And drawn out.
Well, they also established that the governor's head chief guard guy, his position was a little undefined.
He was just the guy in the room at the time.
Was working with Syl to try and depose the governor so that him and Syl can get a lower price for the ore.
Yeah, he was the worst offender in the entire serial in terms of acting.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. He was pretty bad. And so the governor has a vote because apparently they need to put this trade agreement bickering to a vote. And he votes, so the vote goes that if they vote yes, they vote for the governor to keep trying to get a higher price. And if they vote no, everyone decides to ration and the governor doesn't try seek a higher price, I think.
And dies.
Well, dies if he doesn't survive the beam.
The way I understood it was the governor proposes something.
Yeah.
And if they vote yes, then it passes. And if they vote no, then he has to get like 10,000 volts or whatever it is. It was like they said it later. It was like a mind destruction beam, or it was a spirit ray or something. I don't know.
Spirit
no, they used
ray.
the word spirit, and I was like, okay. So yeah, but then if he survives that, then it just passes. I guess.
I think it just doesn't pass, and the governor just keeps doing whatever.
Just proposes something else. So,
and then if the governor dies, they explain this later. If the governor dies, they don't have elections. They just kind of have the highest ranking, like 12 people, throw their names in a hat, and the chief just pulls a name out, and that person's the new governor.
So, I mean, I guess they sort of imply that, like, you can only take maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 times in this torture chair before you croak.
Well, I think they said it depends how old you are. I think they said the most anyone survived was 3. Like one other person survived 3 before this governor did.
Yeah, so the one the governor just did was his 3rd.
So, yeah, good political system. Now we finally cut to the Doctor and Perry.
So, yeah, well, I was just going to say
Briefly.
we find out what the yes, no buttons do. So like, oh, that's what they do.
Yeah.
The guy obviously voted no, while the woman voted yes.
Yeah, and then she writes a viewer's report later, and he's like, I'm not in that, am I? And she's like, mm-hmm. And he's like, Because Because apparently it's a crime to vote for someone else or to speak out against the governor, even though you're allowed to vote no for the governor's proposals. So, yeah, now we finally cut to the Doctor and Perry in the
finally.
TARDIS. For like 2 minutes, or like not even, because they just stand there like, hey, you burned all my dinner, and he's like, oops, sorry, and then we cut away.
Yeah, so Perry gives this long list of all the things the Doctors had gone wrong in the past couple of days or whatever.
Yeah, since
so I'm like,
Resurrection Cybermen?
Attack of the Cybermen.
Attack of the Cybermen.
And I'm sure there's novels and audio dramas about all of this stuff. Probably would be more interesting than this serial, because some of that stuff sounded pretty interesting. Also, we burned dinner.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a novel about that. That's the most interesting.
Well, what would be interesting is to read a novel that like incorporated all of these elements. I mean, it's just like, how do you incorporate all of this stuff into a single story? But I'm sure somebody's done it, or at least done most of them.
Well, I was looking at the Fifth Doctor's list of voice timeline on the TARDIS wiki the other day, and turns out there's a whole bunch of audio dramas set, like, so on Frontios, you know, at the very end they take the head tractator to the other planet and they come back.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of, like, adventures with the Doctor and Just Tegan set between when they leave Frontios to go drop the tractator off, and then when they come back, like, just ditch Turlo for a couple adventures, and then they show up again to pick him up.
Seems legit.
So anyway, yeah, we cut back to...
Oh yeah, Perry is her outfit is sort of a palette swap of what it was last week.
Yeah, well, it's easier on the eyes than that hot pink last week. Not that the outfit itself is any better.
Yeah. And we didn't even mention last week how much it reveals her boobs.
Yeah, it's like a baby blue this week, except more neon.
Yeah, I guess.
So back to
Varos, where I always wanted to go, where I always wanted this show to take me.
To the punishment dome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's revealed that that guy getting punished is in the punishment dome.
Yeah, for treason. Do they ever explain what? Well, he was a rebel, but like, do they ever explain how he treasoned? I guess it's just being a rebel.
He just committed treason.
He just treasoned.
Yeah, he just treasoned. Well, so they're all like, well, we need to get our viewer ratings up. The governor's like, we need to get our viewer ratings up. So he decides they're gonna execute that guy. Yeah, this guard comes in, this overly sadistic guard, and he's like, hey, you know what's a way of execution we haven't done before? Set the laser to max power and remove the safeguards, and it could blow at any minute. The suspense is what will keep people watching. And I'm like, whoa.
I mean, yeah, after a while, you know, executions get kind of boring, so you gotta spice it up a little bit.
He also reveals that the laser would, like, vaporize him molecule by molecule, so...
Yeah, it'll spaghettify him. I think that's the word for, like, when you get sucked into a black hole, you get spaghettified. It's not from spaghetti, but, like, it's... yeah.
Small black holes, yes.
There's one right behind you. No.
So, yeah, they decide to do this, and then we cut back to the Doctor and Perry, and the TARDIS is just bust, and the Doctor's like, well, I give up. I'm just going to live for millennia in the TARDIS. You'll die in a couple of years, but I'll live here for millennia.
Yeah, Perry brings him the conveniently English TARDIS manual, and the Doctor's like, yeah, I'm just going to die in here. And he's like, you're lucky, Perry. You only have to live here for, like, what, 50, 60 more years? Well, I'm going to have to be here for all my regenerations.
And I was like, wow, Doctor,
Which, I mean,
wow.
I mean, each regeneration only seems like a couple of years at this point, so you might have less to go than Perry, Doctor.
Well, I was like, wow, okay, Doctor. Jerk move. The Perry. Perry brings in the TARDIS manual, which we've seen before, I think.
I think with a different prop.
Yeah.
I don't remember this prop.
It says Type 40 manual on the front in, like, block letters that look like someone...
It's Arial Bold. I'm just kidding.
It looked like someone cut them out and then, like, glued them to the front of the book.
Yeah, that might be the case. See, another instance of just the shoddy prop and set work in the serial. Because I didn't mention it yet, but all the sets in this serial suck. These are like these are like Underworld tier or worse.
No, these are way better than Underworld.
They're boring as heck. They're gray and brown and dark and dull and just not visually interesting in any way.
There's nothing wrong with gray. I mean, gray is predominantly pretty bad. But on the whole, there's nothing wrong with gray.
I mean, yeah, like specks of gray here and there, like how they did it in Ford of Doomsday. You know, it was sort of a gray spaceship, but they interspersed it with like these interesting themed colors and stuff. And here it was just brown, gray. Looked low.
It was green on the governor's set. The governor's set was cool with the little broadcast and the big V in the background for Varos.
Okay, the one thing I liked about this serial, the one cool concept that I think
You're gonna say when it was over, aren't you?
No. I mean, yes, that too, but the one cool concept that I think this serial had that I think got buried in all the other nonsense that surrounded it was the whole political system. Like, the governor dies if he can't withstand this thing, they have to vote yes or no. So that was kind of interesting, but like the rest of the serial just wasn't.
No, this serial was way more interesting than Attack of the Cybermen. Like, leagues ahead of Attack of the Cybermen. Yes, it was.
I think this is even worse than Twin Dilemma, but anyway.
No. So, eventually Perry's like, hey, look, the console, the little rotor moved, and he's like, what? The Doctor does something.
He somehow figures out that the only way to fix the TARDIS is to go to Varos and get some of this metal or mineral or whatever it is.
Yeah, so they go there and they use the loss of the remaining energy to go there and they land. The TARDIS is still a blue police box, so I guess that chameleon circuit fix is just bust again.
Yeah. I guess it was something they just wrote for that one serial.
Yeah, thank God for that. So...
I mean, I already knew that before watching this, so...
No, so did I. I'm just glad they didn't write out an integral element of the show.
I mean, maybe it would have been nice if they mentioned it somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe in Perry's long tirade or whatever. It's like, and to top it all off, you broke the chameleon circuit again.
Yeah, well...
Well, it didn't, so...
Burning the Cold Dinner was the best because it reminded me for some reason of that first Doctor serial where Susan wants to get, I can't remember if it was food or water, but she just goes to this machine.
Yeah, it was water.
She punches it in.
That was an Edge of Destruction.
And I was like, what happened to that machine that just gives you food?
That Jetsons machine?
Yeah. So they land like in.
No, we had a discussion about this. Like, one time you were like, "Why don't they just use the machine to get all their food?" And I was like, "Maybe they want to cook. Maybe cooking's fun." Well, apparently the Sixth Doctor sucks at it.
Yeah, all the more reason to use that Jetsons machine.
You know, I don't want to blame him for this because you can be a good cook and still mess up every once in a while. So you know, you're okay in my books. Sixth Doctor.
I mean, that's true, but it takes some impressive skill to burn a cold dinner when you're like not even supposed to be using the oven or the microwave. Maybe you just didn't know how to cook that meal. Maybe, you know, maybe it's just wasn't something he'd cooked before.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't want to throw him under the bus for this one thing. I mean, if it comes up again that he messed up some food, then yeah, maybe he's a bad cook.
You think the Fifth Doctor got his salary from that Jetsons machine every so often?
Or are you saying that he just replaced it off screen?
Yeah. So the Doctor and Perry land like in the execution room, and then they use the laser to cut the guy's
Yeah,
chains.
they just show up and they're like, "Who are you?" And they're like, "We're here to do something or the other."
Well, there was his guard, and he started shooting at the TARDIS because he thought it was like a hallucination.
Yeah, so apparently unbridling this machine is going to cause hallucinations, so like make sure you have your hallucination helmet, which is a great name, by the way, on. He's like, all right, I'll keep my hallucination helmet on. So he goes in and you're like, you're just figments of my imagination.
And then
No. He doesn't do that.
But Syl does, and it's really weird. So the Doctor and Perry help the guy escape.
Have you seen that episode of SpongeBob where he's going to play the clarinet and he's like, hold on, just got to moisten my lips first?
I have, actually. So they're about to go back to the toilet, but the guards show up. So the Doctor rigs the gun to explode, and it shoots one of the guards. So, the Sixth Doctor getting in his prerequisite kill of the week, which is what we thought the Fifth Doctor was going to do, but then he stopped.
Yeah, so the Sixth Doctor actually does kill like 5 or 6 people here. Like only a couple of the deaths in this serial weren't by his hand.
Yeah, actually a couple. Only 2 of them were not by his hand. So
like the guard who dies pretty soon, because they go with what's his face,
the guard dude. Defection dude, the guard who defects.
Yeah, he gets shot.
Because now we meet that prisoner's wife,
who's like she was also a prisoner, right? I mean.
Yeah, I think they said that like most of the people on Varos were prisoners.
Yeah, but they had her. Oh, yeah, okay. I thought they had her in like some kind of holding cell, but see, I don't know. It was just too obtuse for my liking. Even though I usually like ambiguous crap.
I don't know. It made sense to me. So yeah. So the guard comes in and he's like, "Your husband's gonna get executed today." And she's like, "No, why? Why can't you help him? You were his friend." And he's like, "I'm a guard now."
Yeah, they add in this dumb subplot about this.
Yeah, well, he immediately defects, like, in that scene. Is like, you know what? You're right. The government sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Not really.
I don't know.
If anything, the most time drawing out scenes are all the scenes of that guy and that girl just watching all the executions who interact with none of the people in the plot.
Yeah, there was.
I honestly don't know why those scenes were in there.
It's like really heavy-handed political commentary type stuff, somewhat. And also at the same time, I can't remember what it is exactly that they said, but there were like 2 instances where they made these comments, and I was like, are they talking about this serial? Like in a meta sense, like in the sense that we talk about the serial? I don't remember exactly what the lines were, but I'm curious to go back and find out what they were, because it was in episode 2.
Yeah, that'd be pretty weird. Also, pretty weird for this show, to be honest. The show never comments on itself, even though it comments on like everything else in existence.
Yeah, there's not really much fourth wall nonsense in Doctor Who,
except for that time the first Doctor was like, "Merry Christmas."
I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I mean, you don't really want to do fourth wall nonsense unless you can do it, like, well.
The show is consistently
or unless it's
shown
just a
that
dumb comedy.
Wild varying in quality.
Yeah, like how this cereal was bottom of the barrel.
No, it was. The cereal was the apples that bob on the top.
So we're bobbing for apples now?
I was looking for a metaphor that fit with the bottom of the barrel metaphor. So.
I mean, you could use a barrel of anything. You could use a barrel of dead fish.
But then they're all dead.
Yeah, this could be one of the dead fish on the top, according to you. Anyway, the thing is, they kept adding all these uninteresting subplots, and usually I'm the one who's like, yeah, more subplots, add in everything, but here is just boring subplots on top of this boring actual story that they tried to tell. So like, you really need to intensify the boringness.
That was my problem with Attack of the Cybermen last week, is that I found all those subplots terribly boring and uninteresting. So I had the same. Yeah,
it's just a subjective thing. I liked the subplots last week, so I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I like the subplots this week. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I find it kind of weird, actually. And I was thinking this while I watched the serial, because usually I'm the one who likes when they add in more stuff.
Yeah.
But here I didn't, because, yeah, the serial was just bland. Not using vanilla, because vanilla isn't bland.
Vanilla can be bland, though.
No, vanilla is... We already had this discussion. Vanilla is a very robust and interesting flavor.
I mean, yeah, if you use it right.
Well, I mean, it can also be, like, super bitter if you just pour vanilla extract into your mouth, which is, I guess, what this cereal was. Which is, I guess, why I'm bitter about it. Whoa. It all makes sense now. No.
So you're saying the cereal's vanilla?
Maybe what they're spraying Syl with is vanilla extract.
Somehow
vanilla extract is super expensive, and they're just wasting it on Syl.
Yeah, I don't think so. Somehow,
like, guards, more vanilla. Syl was the most impatient d-bag in the entire show. He's like,
that's what made him great.
Mirror.
That's what made him great.
Well, apparently he comes back, so...
Yeah, not only in another serial, but also in an audio drama. Two of them, actually.
No, I'm not surprised by that. I am surprised that he comes back in another serial. You know, he actually kind of reminded me of the chief dude in Sunmakers. Somewhat.
Yeah. I can see that. So...
Except all the political nonsense in this serial was, like, 10 times worse than Sunmakers. I mean, Sunmakers actually did get pretty bad near the end because of how drawn out it was. But, yeah, they used propaganda to good effect there.
So, where even are we in the serial? Yeah, okay, so the doctor and the prisoner and Perry meet up with the wife and the guard gets shot, and then the wife and the doctor and co like get split up and everyone gets captured. The doctor gets killed. They do this really dramatic cliffhanger where it's just lingering on his face, and the guy's like, when should I cut? And the governor's like, and cut now. And then it rolls the credits.
That was one of the not one of the things the couple said, obviously, but this is another one of the meta things that just made me go like,
Well, I mean, the episode is about television, so I wouldn't be surprised if they slipped in a couple things like that over the whole serial.
Yeah.
Anyway, I liked that cliffhanger. Even though it was just another typical, the doctor's dead, no he's not, cliffhanger. I liked the way that they played it out, so.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
They roll the credits, and then we get episode 2, part 2, whatever. And they carry the doctor's body away, and then they try to interrogate Perry. They're like, your friend's dead, now tell us everything. Tell us why you're here. And she's like, you won't believe me.
Yeah, and the most boring... They don't even have an interrogation room. It's just like, they're just doing it there.
Well, I don't think the governor is supposed to be a bad person, so I don't think he really wants to interrogate her.
They could have had a cool interrogation room scene, but no, instead it's just
somehow
in this boring
I don't think
set,
they had the budget.
Just standing there.
They went into the governor's
not even
office.
Interesting cinematography.
Well, it's Ron Jones. Ron Jones hasn't really been known for interesting cinematography.
This entire show hasn't, but like this was kind of just first, second Doctor era, where it was just like a regular medium shot of people standing there.
And that's okay.
I don't want the show to regress.
Well, I don't think it hurts the show, but it doesn't help it either. I think it's just there.
I think it hurts it because it's
there.
To me, it brought the show back to like the mid-'60s when that kind of thing was a lot more common, and it's still common, but I don't know. I just don't want the technical aspects of the show to regress.
Well, in some ways it shows that they're allowing each director to have their own style, so to speak, and that's just Ron Jones' style. Like last week, we didn't have as bland cinematography.
Yeah, and I mean, you can write it off that it's his style, but that doesn't make it any better.
I mean, it doesn't make it better for the show, but I think we should give the show credit for allowing the directors to do what they want to do instead of trying to homogenize the whole thing.
Yeah, but I mean, you can clearly look at this and say, like, okay, this is a bit subpar. So whether that's a good thing or not, I guess is up to how optimistically you want to view the situation. And I want to view it pretty pessimistically because, honestly, there are more downsides than upsides.
Well, that's your opinion. This whole show is just opinions, so... Yeah, so...
Really? I thought it was fact up until now. Wow.
Well, you were
misinformed.
You were misinformed. Sorry. So the doctor wakes up. They're gonna like throw his body in the acid bath, and then
Yeah, okay, so they have this like open acid. I mean, this is just dumb. They have this like open acid. It looked to me like it was a sort of little acid pool that I don't know what the word is, streamed into a sort of indoor acid river, a la Small World, but with acid and less singing and a lot more death. And no boats, because you get thrown into the acid in a body bag. Or the body bag just protects you from the acid.
Let's say, or not in a body bag if you're one of those guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor does the most dick move because he just wakes up and he just taps the guard on the shoulder, and the guard's like, "Whoa, you're alive!" and falls backwards into the acid.
Yeah, see, that's why I didn't know if we were going to credit these deaths to the doctor, because like the first guy just gets surprised and kind of just falls into the acid, and I was like, yeah, it is kind of the doctor's fault, so...
Yeah, well, the doctor kind of shoves the other guy. He's like blocking him with the bed frame.
The other guy, yes.
And then the guy in the acid grabs the guy's leg and he's like, ah, and he falls in. So they get...
My leg, no.
That's pretty violent.
Yeah.
So they die because their body gets eroded by acid.
Yeah, the one guy, like, jumps out of the acid for a minute and his face is all red and peeling.
So that's pleasant. I can see now why season 22 is criticized for its violence.
Well, I mean, yeah, if last week wasn't any indication, then this week certainly is.
So...
Although, I don't know, honestly, I think last week, maybe this is just because I'm American, but since last week, no, I'm serious. Since last week had a lot more gun violence, I find last week's serial more violent than this one, I think.
That's fair.
I don't know.
I find this week's more violent just because of the deaths.
The acid.
Well, that too. But, I mean, the deaths were just so over the top and, like, unnecessary that it was like...
I don't know if you can really compare and say which one actually is more violent than the other, because this one is like based around public execution, so yeah, they had this whole thing at the beginning where one of the guards is like, so governor, why don't you try proposing things that people actually want, huh? And the governor is just like, yeah, well,
yeah, well,
so
you don't know what it's like to govern.
I mean, you can tell that he's trying to be a good guy or whatever, but I don't know, they just do it in like the worst way possible, so...
Well,
but yeah, the doctor escapes.
So he's just running around the corridors for a while, and then the governor Syl decides for the governor.
Freaking Syl. Get out of here, Syl.
Put Perry and the wife lady into this, oh wait, that's not yet. That's after they threatened to hang the doctor.
Oh yeah, there was that, oh god. What the heck was up with that scene? So they're gonna hang the doctor.
Yeah, they capture him again. They're like, we're gonna hang you.
They bring him in, and there's like actually this choir music playing, or like church organ, or I don't know what it was, but it sounded really religious. Well, there was this priest leading the procession. Yeah, and they had like this guy in a monk robe, so I was like, maybe it's the monk.
They should just retconned it as being the monk, to be honest.
He found his place in the universe on Varos.
My favorite part of that scene was how the very first thing the monk says is, Lord God, we ask for forgiveness, and I was like, yeah, you're not getting forgiveness for just hanging two guys. So yeah, they're about to hang them, and the doctor makes a speech about how
also really, adding to the violence here.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, I don't want to make this too, not political, but I don't want to read into this too much, but especially if you're American, like the bad history that hanging, well, not that hanging has a good history anywhere, but like the super duper extremely negative connotations that it has, specifically in this country.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really have as extreme connotations in Britain where this would have been made.
It's still pretty bad, though.
No, I think like hanging is universally agreed to be pretty bad, so...
Yeah, maybe you're just hanging 10. Maybe you're just hanging out.
Not that kind of hanging. We're talking about hanging from the branches of a tree.
Noose. Well, or just like the rafters here. They didn't bring in a tree. It's like, here's this tree. We brought it in specifically for you to hang from. What if you could choose your tree? Like, what if you could do a eucalyptus? You could do a a spruce.
Somehow I don't think the type of tree affects your hanging experience.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It's just like in what was it, Caves of Androzani, where you like they'll do with your ashes what you want. It's like you can choose your tree.
Well, they give the doctor like 6 opportunities to make final statements, and he takes every single one of them to say something different. And then he says something about his TARDIS and needing the mineral, and he's like, that corroborates Perry's story. And then they hang him. But it's a fake rope. And the governor's like, how did you know, doctor? And he's like, well, you weren't recording, and since you're a society based around broadcasting public executions... Also, they chuck Perry and the wife lady into this machine that turns you into, like, what you fear, I think?
No, it's like what you want to do, because Perry gets turned into a bird lady because she wants to, like, fly away or something, and I forget what the otother lady was getting turned into.
Doesn't matter. They bring it up.
Yeah, it was kind of dumb.
They bring it
honestly.
up in episode 1 because I think this is the only time the two people watching and making snide commentary about the governor contributed to the plot at all was the girl threatens to have the guy put into that thinking machine thing, and he's like, no.
Oh.
So
it was kind of a dumb concept in my opinion, because they just go in there and, like, I don't know, they don't...
I thought it was a cool concept. I think it was misplaced in this serial, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Just like, ugh.
Anyway, the doctor busts into the governor's room, and the head scientist is like, it's too late in the process to stop it. And the doctor's like, yeah, right. Do you even understand how this technology works? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. No, actually, I don't. We found it. They straight up say they found it while they were mining because their miners started growing feathers.
Yeah.
Anyway, the doctor exposes the chief scientist for the fraud he is by tearing off his mask and revealing half his face is burned. So he's Two-Face from Batman. Yeah.
I don't think you needed to add the from Batman. I don't think there's any other Two-Face.
Hey, there might be.
Maybe.
So, the doctor
sort
and
of
what's his
commentary
name?
for minors' rights here, I guess. Against minors' rights.
I didn't read into that at all, but sure, I guess if you want to...
Because, I mean, like, a lot of real-life miners get sick if they work in mines their whole life, and, like,
well, yeah.
typically, like, hundreds of years, or, like, in the 1800s, I guess, they'd just be like, yeah, whatever, just keep working in the mines. So, like, here it's just like, oh, we found this technology that you found working in the mines, so keep working on it, and we're also going to utilize it in our society.
Well, typically, it's pretty poor conditions down in those mines.
Yeah, it is. I don't know whether you're talking about real life or this serial,
I'm talking
but,
about
like,
both.
yeah, it is.
Drastic understatement of the year award right there. Anyway, the doctor and the guy steal a gun and they bust in and save Perry and the girl, and their transformation just regresses when they turn off the machine. So I guess it wasn't actually too late.
It fades, like, immediately. They're just like, it's too late, and it's like, oh, really? And he turns off, and they immediately go back to normal.
So they walk away. They eventually find this little, like, mobility scooter thing.
Yeah, okay, so that was so dumb because it looked slower than walk. Okay, first of all, it looked like a smart car.
Nothing wrong with smart cars.
No, but it's a mining smart car. It's not a mining cart. It's a mining smart car / golf cart thing.
Maybe they're saving money.
Yeah, all right. See, the thing about smart cars, like, I understand them in, like, a small country. Like, a lot of the European countries have, like, super narrow roads, and, like, if you have, like, a big car, you're not going to get around, like, anywhere. But, like, here, especially in Southern California, where the roads are,
like 5 lanes wide.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't, like, that car, if you get... Like, anything could happen to that car on the road here, which, I mean, I don't know, they're still pretty cool. I guess they save money, but I remember, so I've been to Ireland, right? Mm-hmm. And the roads there are so freaking narrow that, like, Honestly, one of the entire roads in Ireland is like more narrow than one lane where we
Jeez.
live. Yeah. Anyway, that's my smart car tirade. Not rant, rather. Not tirade. I'm not Sill. So yeah, and my second problem with this cart thing was that it looked like it was moving slower than they could walk.
Yeah, well, maybe the doctor just wanted to rest his feet for a while. He put his feet up and...
Oh man, I'm tired. That feels good. Just immediately die. I don't know.
Well,
it was kind of like, why was it in there?
Also, the car provides some protection from like gunfire that's coming from behind. Well, it's better than none if you were just running down that corridor, so...
But it's also slower. So, like, it's,
it's
a give and take.
These guards are clearly the worst shots in existence.
So, I don't know if you noticed this, or maybe it was just my imagination. I'm not sure. But one of the laser beams, like, you know how it had that, like, safari Jeep type covering thing, right?
Yeah.
One of the lasers looked like it went through... Not through as in like physically through the beams, but like if this, you can't see what I'm doing, so I'm making a hand gesture, but if these are the beams, it went like this and like just narrowly missed the doctor who was sitting right there.
I know exactly which one you're talking about because I noticed it, because it came like they were shooting from behind and all of a sudden it was like it came in front of the doctor and I was like, how even? So like, what?
So I'm like, that's actually pretty good aim if you're able to get it through the beams like that. Too bad you didn't hit your target though.
Well, no, immediately after that, they're shown to be the worst shots in existence because the guy hangs off the back of the cart and they're shooting at him and they just all miss.
Yeah, they're the Dalek Cyberman now, I guess, they're the equivalent of the Dalek who always lets them go, / the Cyberman now who did so last week.
All these menacing races are just being undermined by that one guy who lets their enemies go. So Perry gets captured again, and the chief forces the governor to call another vote because apparently there's a provision in the Constitution to allow him to do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not going to survive this one. He's like, oh yeah? And they're like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, no one survived it more than 3 times. I'm probably dead meat.
So he's trying to convince the guard guy to... free them, and he's like, nope, can't do it. And he's like, you realize that you might become governor, right? And then you're going to be subject to this. And he's like, hey, you're right, but I'm still not going to let you go. But then he has a change of heart in the middle of the governor dying by the death beam. And they escape, all 3 of them. Meanwhile, the doctor and co have found some cannibals.
Yeah, it was another public, not execution, but I guess it was just sort of a Coliseum type thing where they throw these slaves in there and like fight over this food. Haha.
Okay, this is actually honestly where the serial went downhill for me, because everything from now to the end I was just like, why does this even exist?
Honestly, most of episode 2, probably past the 10-minute mark, was just like padding, unnecessary nonsense until like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, there should have been a 2-part 25-minute serial, but I still liked it, so whatever.
And the other thing is, like, Perry didn't do crap here. It's just like, I just want her to leave, but at this point, she's not doing anything.
I mean, to be honest, the doctor didn't really do anything in the serial either.
The doctor isn't doing anything. This is like approaching massacre.
I guess I liked it in spite of the doctor and Perry and not because of this week. Especially since the doctor just becomes this bloodthirsty maniac in the serial. Sixth Doctor, what are you doing?
Well, I think we can excuse, in terms of his bloodthirstiness, I think we can excuse the guys he pushed in the acid because he's not really going to be getting their blood because they're going to, like, burn to death.
Okay, yeah, but what about the people he kills, like, right now with those poisonous vines?
Yeah, well, I mean...
All 4 of them.
Yeah, them too.
The chief scientist comes in...
It was just a stupid joke about how the guys who fell in the acid didn't bleed to death.
The scientist...
Not actually excusing him for anything. He's kind of a jerk.
Chief scientist comes in, he's like, ha ha ha, we're gonna torture you till you die. And the doctor just...
and they introduce these stupid vines. They're like, if you touch them, you die.
Yeah, one of the cannibals dies.
Were they cannibals or were they fighting over a little piece of food? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they...
Honestly, I don't care.
Yeah, me neither, I guess.
Yeah, the doctor makes the rebel guy released some vine and it kills the two guards, the chief, and the head scientist. So it works out for everyone. It kills everyone who was basically against the governor. Except for Syl. We didn't mention Syl's, like, costume thing. And by which I mean the, like, really poor way the, like, thing fit around the actor's head.
Yeah, it looked terrible. He was like, okay, so he was like a mini little Jabba-looking creature, right? And he was green, and he had like sort of a plume or a, I forget what they're called, but one of those dinosaur things on their heads, kind of like what the Silurians have. Except more pronounced, surprisingly.
And he was on a big,
he was on a big pedestal
cart
thing, which I'm guessing that's what his actor was in.
Yeah. Yeah, it fit really poorly around the actor's face. You could, like, tell where it wasn't touching it, certain parts. Anyway, at this point, the entire plot is resolved by just the Syl's corporation calling up and like, hey, we found another source of the mineral. Like, another company found another source of the mineral. Purchase it for any cost. And Syl's like, no! And that's it. That's the end of the serial.
Yep.
Actually, it ends... I like the ending because it ends with the two people who are watching the TV the whole time, and they're watching, and it just cuts to static, and then it ends.
Yeah, near the end here is when they made their possibly meta commentary, but we also didn't mention the scene where the guy steals the lady's vote.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what can go wrong with this system.
Well, yeah, they probably shouldn't put the voting buttons like right next to each other for two people. Like,
well, I mean, if they actually implemented something like this in an actual real modern society, which they shouldn't because it's a terrible system, but if they actually did, you would either do it like online or
you just have like
online.
a little remote that you would keep with you.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they said that the motivation for doing it this way was that fear of death will lead the governor to make better decisions.
Yeah, that didn't seem to work at all.
Which is super false.
No, it's not just false, it's super false.
Yeah, because the governor won't act in the best interest of the people. He'll just act in whatever way he thinks will keep him alive. So he'll act only in self-preservation instead of preservation of society.
Yeah, well, demographics definitely come into play here. I think
true.
we're going way too deep into this. It's just a 2-episode Doctor Who serial.
Why not go deep into it? It's a interesting thought experiment for a government system.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, percentages of population would come into play, and obviously
all sorts
real
of
life.
nonsense would come into play. Imagine if we just killed the losing presidential candidate, though.
Well,
make the presidential race a race to the death.
But yeah, the loser dies. I don't know. That would actually be terrible.
Yeah, it would actually make it worse than what it's already been this year.
Normally, I'm the one who, like, jokingly, of course, advocates all these radical ideas, but you know what? I'm not even going to joke around with that idea. That's actually, like, a legitimately terrible idea that we should never implement.
Yeah, no, I agree. All in all, I liked this serial. I thought it was pretty good. I liked the concepts. I thought the subplots worked, but I don't think the Doctor and Perry did anything, and I didn't really like them in this serial.
So do you stand by your statement now that it's in the top 10 Doctor Who serials?
No, I'll put it top 20.
All right, well, I obviously didn't like it at all. I thought it was just completely boring in terms of the set, acting, story, BS subplots, Doctor and Perry not doing anything, and not even showing up for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I liked this not as a Doctor Who serial, just as a story.
This is bad.
This is bad. This is what the Sixth Doctor is giving us.
Honestly, we're only 3 serials into the Sixth Doctor, but I hope it's not too soon to say that this is the underworld of the Sixth Doctor, the space pirates of the Sixth Doctor, etc.
I don't think... Somehow I don't think it is, because season 23 straight gets cancelled, and then afterwards they're like, they realize later that they get renewed again, but they've already canceled all the scripts they've written, so they have to write all new ones for the Trial of the Time Lord.
It might work out for the better.
Do you honestly believe that?
We'll have to see. No, I don't know. That's the thing. I honestly don't know.
Well, I guess we'll see.
I mean, I hope this isn't the low point of the Sixth Doctor's run. I hope what we get next week and in the future is better than this.
So you hope this is the low point, then? You said
okay,
it isn't the low point, and I was like,
right.
so you're hoping there's a serial worse?
Yeah, well, you know what I meant.
Email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your new and improved political systems. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, all at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. Next week we watch Mark of the Ronnie. But until then, the end.